Hey, welcome back to Still Single. How are you guys? Good to see you.
It's good to see you guys.
Great to be
We
here.
just we just did a great warm up, and then of course we hit record, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Where do we put our hands?
Welcome back to the fastest growing podcast for singles, Still Single, hosted by Rob Moore, Jordan Kahana, and Alex Weber. We want to talk about so it's February. This episode is actually coming out a week or so before Valentine's Day, V-Day, as we call it. So we're gonna spend today talking all about heartbreak and how heartbreak has impacted the three amigos over here. But first, can we just do our weekly check-in of if we're still single or not? Can we just like get in right there? I'll go first.
It hasn't been weekly, and every single time Jordan doesn't love it. And then
We had a discussion last week about not doing it, but
All right.
here we are.
Well, I have to do
let's
the
kick
intro.
off.
I have to do the intro every time, and then I start speaking, and then I don't know what to say, and
Well,
then I'm like, well, let's just do this.
You first of all, you don't have to.
That's
You
true.
and that was the whole point of me asking beforehand, of being like, hey, before we hit record, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. And you're
I
like,
blacked
yeah,
out when you
got
said
it.
that. I
And then,
totally
like,
blacked out.
and this is like probably the third or fourth episode where we're like, cool, this is what we're going to talk about. And then Rob, you hit like the lights come on and you're like, so we're going to talk about romantic time. And then we have like a 30-minute podcast that we have to delete because we're like, that is not what we agreed upon talking about.
It's just, look, man, I am doing my best. I'm wearing denim on denim today. Like, I am in a feisty mood. Well,
It's early
okay,
for you out there.
it is early, but it's good. It's good to be out, up and at 'em, as they say. I did have a little bit of the Sunday scaries yesterday. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had some depression Sunday scaries.
Okay.
I binged cookies. My mom was in town, and she
Uh-huh.
made these chocolate chip cookies, and they were on a plate just sitting in my kitchen, and there were 5 cookies, and within the matter of like 2 minutes we were down to 1 cookie. Like, I just went like out of a cartoon, and it was just
Did anyone ask about like where the cookies went, and then you
no,
had to?
thankfully.
Okay, and you saying that you binge cookies. I was like, tell me about this show. I've never heard about cookies. Like, is it?
What is
But
cookies about?
yeah, let
Well,
me
it's
know
about
more.
this couple living in New York City that owns a cookie shop, and it's just so cute. But yeah, as we get into this episode, so today we are going to talk about heartbreak. One of our YouTube subscribers actually left a comment,
Mhm.
and it struck me as something like I just thought it was just nice. So this guy EJ commented on the situationship episode. He said, great episode, and then said, Def would love to see an episode about heartbreak, maybe exes retracting or moving forward, and dating when life is busy, he said. So then I kind of texted the group, and we were just like, hey, like, let's talk about heartbreak and talk about some of our trials and tribulations
Mhm.
in our past dating experiences, in our current dating experiences, and that's kind of where we're at for today.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. And for those of you who haven't, congratulations. I guess is the best way to do it. Or I don't know. I was going to take a more aggressive route, but I think that's the best way to do it. I think everyone at some point has had their heart broken, whether or not it's through friendship breakups or even romantic breakups or work situations not coming through the way they wanted. And so some way or another, when you're invested in something and you want something, the thought and the feelings that rejection brings is can be a tidal wave in so many different ways. So it's something to really like own sometimes and let people know, like how there have been. I think the barometer for me when it comes to like relationships in the past is that unless I cry, I don't really feel that it meant that much. And maybe I've just like turned off the waterworks a bit more in past relationships because I know being the sensitive one of the group, and the Pisces in me, like I can be very emotional, and if I'm around someone who's crying, it usually makes me cry. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of layers that come into different heartbreaks.
100%. I mean, you just said something so interesting about like breakups with friends, or like
Hmm.
almost like that kind of heartbreak. I wasn't even thinking about those types of heartbreak, but yeah, like friends moving on or being hurt in a friend situation. Also those work situations that like don't happen to work out, that you had so much hope and so much
Hmm.
energy behind, and then all of a sudden it's like, sorry, no. And you almost get you get seasoned with that rejection, especially in our industry of entertainment. Like there's so much, oh my God, this is gonna happen 100%, like without a doubt. And then it's like, actually, no, we changed directions, and you're
Hmm.
just like, fuck, like is something wrong with me? Or at least that's always my reaction when
Yeah.
I deal with rejection. My immediate response is, it was my fault, something's wrong with me. And it usually leads me to spiral into a very self-critical
Hmm.
negative space.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very human nature to do, like to put it on you when like because you're the common denominator in all these no's, because we're also self-focused on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like, what am I doing in this situation?
I don't know if it's interesting though, because it's like, and I don't think either. There's like the emotional piece. There's like the emotional piece, and then there's the actionable like piece, which I hate to like be so, but I think it's important because there's the emotional piece, which is like, okay, maybe we're not wanted. And maybe we're not wanted for reasons that really have nothing to do with us, especially if it's like a work thing. It could just be that it has absolutely nothing to do with us. And even a relationship, it could be that it has absolutely nothing to do with us. So we can like feel all the emotions. And then I think there's also a piece where it's like, okay, maybe it does have something to do with us. So I think that
Yeah.
there's a thin line where it's like, we don't want to go to a place where we're beating ourselves up or like criticizing or going down this hole of like, I'm the worst. Because I think we've all had periods of that, but also acknowledging like, maybe there is something that I can improve upon here, and there's value in that, and it's okay. Like if it's a work thing, okay, I could work on X, Y, or Z. Or if it's a relationship thing, like, damn, like I really need to do a better job with this.
Do you think, um I'm gonna just put it out there. I know yesterday was a rough day for you, Webs. Do you think that that self-critical reflection led to some spiraling and led to some overwhelm?
I think just some realization of, and so all three of us, we were kind of talking before, have had like an experience with a panic attack. And I don't even know language, like what to put on it, but just an experience of like extreme kind of heartache and worry and anxiety and kind of like overcoming you. And I've
Mm-hmm.
only really had maybe like three of those in my life. Um, but I think, it's a horrible experience. Like, just like the user experience of a human being
Hmm.
having it, not the most fun.
I give it 1 star out of 5.
But also I see maybe why it exists. Like, I do feel like there was an awakening moment in it of like
Mm-hmm.
almost a low. And for me it was just a realization of like, listen, I can point fingers at other people or other things. I can distract myself away from maybe these like patterns or habits that I have behaviorally. But I just like reflected of like, this has been here my whole life. And if I don't get this together, like I'm starting to feel a little bit of it right now. Like
Mm.
you're like, there's no reality where you will actually be happy or have love or be who you want to be in a life that you want. Like, this is an inside job.
I want to validate that feeling, because I know the feeling you're having right now, and I've definitely had it. I also want to acknowledge that it's a bit fatalist, and it's a bit almost projecting when you think like, oh, I'm going to feel this way forever, because there really is no feeling that you're going to have forever.
Hmm.
So whatever you are feeling, even today, yesterday, it is just for right now. And I know that for a fact as someone who's had panic attacks. I mean, I'm reflecting it's February right now, February 2023. Weber, February
I love you,
2022.
dudes.
February 2022, I was literally in like the worst place imaginable. And I was literally talking to Alex like every day trying to should we pause?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
Be honest about it, and like real time stuff of just like I feel weird like talking about my past panic attacks. I'll just keep talking, and if it works, great, and if not, are you calling him?
Yeah, I was just calling him.
My two panic attacks have been about like girls in the past, like
Yeah.
relationships. Like one was with this girl that I was when I was living in Connecticut, and this girl that I was really into. Had a big house party, and she ends up going to my roommate's room at the end of the night, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, it was quite jarring, and just kind of being like, I stayed up all night. I was just pacing, like kind of freaking out. Like, do I go up there? Do I say something? Like, what
Were you
is
guys all staying at a house? Like how?
so yeah, it was well, this is when I was like living and working in Connecticut.
Oh, got you.
And so I lived in a house with two other guys, and
And
yeah,
this
so
girl like picked your roommate over you.
essentially, even though
Oh,
like I had like taken her out on like a couple dates, and like I invited her over and stuff like that. And so that was like that was the moment that I was like, I 100% need to leave Connecticut and leave ESPN. I
yeah.
just, on top of like a lot of other things with work stuff, but it was like, man, if I don't even have like a, a close like crew here feeling that way, where like someone that I considered like to be my boy, like doing that.
Right.
And so,
It's funny. That's like something my drunk self would have done. Is like my drunk self definitely did that. Actually, there was this girl who my roommate was very interested in, and he like made it clear. He's like, "Yeah, I'm really interested in this girl." And then that
mhm.
night, I'm like, "I'm hooking up with her," and it was just not cool.
I wonder, like, because I've definitely like uh, uh, this may be off the record, have like pursued girls that some of my friends have been pursuing, just to be like, I view this guy as like a really high caliber, really attractive guy. And like, I think we're on different playing fields. And so if they show interest in me, is like, wait, am I at that level? Like, can I, and it's a shitty thing. Like looking back, it's like, I shouldn't be doing that to like see if I'm
I This reminds me of a story. So last year, I had just gone through the break last not this past holiday season, but the
Mhm.
holiday season 2021. It
Mhm.
was like I was fresh off the breakup with my ex, and I went to this holiday party and I saw this girl that I had been flirting with for a little bit. And I basically said to her, I was like, "Who's that guy that you're with?" She's like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend." And I was like, "Oh man, bummer." Like I was totally gonna like make a move and try and kiss you tonight. And she's like, "Shut up." And I'm like, I swear, you're a babe. Like I just went for it. I shit you not. She breaks up with her boyfriend at the party. She sends him packing and he leaves so upset. And I'm just I'm watching it happen. I was like, what just happened? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm great. And then she talks with all of her girlfriends and like, drinking tequila to kind of like like calm the nerves. And then dude, we end up dancing all night and making out at the end of the night. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I just remember feeling such a at the time it was exactly what needed to happen for me. Okay, like poor
Uh-huh.
guy, they dated I think on and off for 6 months. It wasn't like his fiance or anything. It was just like a girl he was dating, and I do feel bad for him, but it was just like a showcase of like, yo dude, you have some power. Like you're back, get back out there, everything's gonna be
Mhm.
okay. And it was a nice little boost for
That's
sure.
wild.
Yeah. Hey Webs,
Hey guys.
we missed you.
I love you guys. We're all doing our best. I'll just say that we're doing our best.
Amen, brother. Amen.
It seems like this long running thing that like a couple episodes ago you were talking about how you have this like build up and this need to cry, but like don't have the space for it. Um, and I'm wondering over time and with all this happening, like, have you found that space? Is there something, I know you mentioned yesterday, like doing that a little bit, but like, did it release that pressure?
I want to show you my like Spotify, the playlist that I searched for were like sad indie, sad hour. By the way, if you're ever just curious, one of my favorite pastimes, if you ever want to do it, is just type in exactly what you're doing. Like if you're like slicing cucumbers playlist, like there's a playlist for that on Spotify. To answer your question, thank you for asking it. I feel like yesterday helped a lot. I still feel like I feel like that was like a third halfway journey, like a halfway journey. And I still feel like I need to like have another one where I really go through the whole thing. Like the only time I really did it of recent memory was like November 2021, and it happened for like 45 minutes, and it was just like a container where it like came up, and it just like I was in a space where like that it was like a retreat, and it was like so I just did it until like, and I was just fucking exhausted after it, but then it's like out of you. And so I mean, geez, we're like a year and a half since that. So
Wait, is that when you did ayahuasca?
it was but this was unrelated to that. This was on an off day during like a morning talking thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just a little side tab on that. Allegedly did
Why?
allegedly
Okay. Unconfirmed. It was in the middle of the Amazon forest. We don't
But what I
know
will
what
say is
happened.
that I'll just do a quick PSA on that. Plant medicines are an incredible gift when used appropriately, but just like you wouldn't
Amen.
get behind like a race car if you don't feel equipped. Make sure you have
Mhm.
good people around you, good setting, good intentions, and allegedly. All that's to say, your boy cried hard, but I need one more session of like powering through any resistance and just sitting with it. So yeah, appreciate it.
Snaps, dude.
Thanks, yeah.
And I don't know. I'm hearing you say it, and obviously we talk all the time. And something that you do often is you say, "Hey, man, this is the last thing I'm going to say about this."
I know.
You like
Yes.
apologize for like feeling
Mhm.
and getting it out, and you'll be like, all right, I just got one more thing I need to say, and I promise I'm done. And it's just like, dude, we're your best friends. Like, we want to
Yeah.
hear what you're doing. I'll tell you to shut up. Like,
Right.
I'll tell you to stop. And I'm hearing you talk about a literal panic attack that you had yesterday, and you're almost apologizing that you had it. It's like, you don't need to apologize. You're going through a lot of shit.
Mhm.
Like, you're going through a lot. It's okay to feel. It's okay to just totally break down. And in that breaking down, you're going to be so much stronger.
Right.
You're going to be so much better, and you're going to learn so much more about yourself, and you're going to hopefully make different choices than you made and not make the same mistakes. And even if you do make the same mistakes, it's okay. Like, we're human. So just I don't know, man.
Thanks, dude.
You're going through a lot of growth, and I love you, and I think it's good stuff. I really do.
I love you guys. I appreciate that.
So I want to bring up last February, because we're in our feels today, guys. This is the Heartbreak episode. This is a
February
good one.
feels.
Yeah, February feels. This is a juicy ep. Weber, on a scale of 1 to 10, and Jordan too, how was I last February?
I don't remember last February.
Like,
Dude, I was like calling you every day.
I want to describe it. I'm going to describe it as an animal.
Yeah.
it was like,
What kind of animal? What kind of animal?
what's popping in mind, and this is no, I don't want to,
Oh, okay. I remember now.
I don't want to read too much into this here, but like almost, fuck it, because you're in such a different place now. Almost like a gopher that was popping out of the hole, being like, "Is it okay to come out?" And then like there'd be like a rustling, and it was like, "It's not time," and come back in the hole. And the gopher was in. And then the gopher would come out, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like that gopher looks good. Like his hair looks good. He's like taking care of himself. He's so skinny because he's sad and like he's lean, but he's not ready yet." So you're like a lion. You're a lion, and the gopher lifted weights and somehow became a lion. You are just I real talk. You were in a position last February of deep questioning and doubt over if you've done the right things. I think that brought up some self-worth and anxious about the future, all totally reasonable. But I think now you're in a place where you know you've done the right thing and you have like faith or peace in yourself in the future.
Oh yeah.
It was so well said.
It was, yeah.
How do you feel from like a year over year?
I just feel,
And to give some context, like how many months out from like the breakup were you for the audience?
I was with somebody for a year. This was like obviously my wife passed 3+ years ago. And then I had one kind of long distance relationship. And then I had this relationship that we're talking about morning, where I was dating somebody, moved in with her, got engaged, like was like ready to start my life with this person. And then ultimately it didn't work out and we just weren't a fit. And after we broke up, I'd say it took me about 9 months, maybe 12 months for me to just be okay. Mm-hmm. And February of last year was maybe like 3 or 4 months after the breakup. And I was just I was the gopher. I was so scared. I couldn't even drive to the west side. She used to live on the west side. Like I had anxiety driving to Marina del Rey. Like I was not well. And honestly, in reflecting, like I jumped into therapy. My family surrounded me with love. I got a life coach, and I also started writing Ghosted, and I started creating art. And in that pain came this story that I needed to tell that was kind of in me for the last couple of years. And that was the most cathartic experience imaginable, not only for the breakup, which was really only 10 or 20% of what I was actually processing. The real thing that I was processing was the loss of Noel. And that is why, because I've had time to reflect on this, and I hope it's okay. I take the floor here, but the truth is, after Noelle died, I had done everything in my power to not feel the pain of her loss. And I was substituting and I was blocking that pain and that processing with alcohol, for sure, and women. And I was blocking it with women in the sense that relationships, I'm kind of like a sex and love addict. Like that relationship, that closeness was something that I needed. Then when my ex and I broke up, and this is, I was 2-3 months into it, and I was going, oh my God, I don't have anyone. It just totally crushed me. And it was the worst depression I've ever been in. And I mean, those happens. I remember I was Google searching like how to get over your ex and like narcissistic abuse, and like it was just crazy, and it was all tied to the loss of Noel.
But I want, because I wanted to ask you like what helped you come out of it, and you said that a little bit, but also, and I get it, like you had a voice when you did the Googling those things, but also that might have had some value. Last night, I was Googling on Samantha Help Me, like she sent me like this stuff that's like, listen, I think there's some maybe part of us that has resistance of like, gosh, I'm this person Googling like therapy stuff or self-help stuff or whatever it is. But then you like read something and you're like, right, I am a snowflake, but I'm also a human being that we all came from the same like cloud, precipitation, whatever. And like, there's some things that are bigger than us. So I guess were those helpful? Like reading about the relationships, reading
100%.
about grief. Yeah.
I was on Quora. Have you heard of Quora?
A little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah, I was on Quora all the time.
It's a message board.
It's a message board where people like put up a prompt. It's kind of like Reddit, but it's more in your feels. And I was on Quora every night. I was just like, I bought books on how to get over it. I mean, I was going to therapy 3 times a week. Like it was intense. But I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from that, and Weber, I'm just hearing that when you say like, yeah, Samantha, help me Google search, I'm having a panic attack, or whatever it was you Google search, is like a sign of strength is asking for help. Like that is strength.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, especially in mental, like I deal with mental health issues. Sometimes I've been in my past so anxious and so on edge that I can't even form the words to ask for help. Have you guys ever felt that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll say that January was a really tough mental health month for me and struggling since coming back from Tahoe. And I was having such an issue viewing success in the future. All of the projects that I was doing, my company, like content creation, just everything that I was doing, I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. That I just felt everything I was doing was fraudulent, and that it was is quite a challenge. And I've mentioned at the beginning of before we hit record is that I'm now at the space of like letting people know, like close people, of being like, hey, I'm just not okay right now. I'm working through some stuff. I'm powering through and trying to find the inspiration, trying to work. And I think the core thing that we're talking about with this heartbreak and with anxiety that comes with it is that we beat ourselves down. And at the same time, we also, everything that we're saying that is helping us heal in the past and where we're at right now in healing is self-growth and working and knowing that internally it's just us to take care of what we can control, and that's ourselves. And being better and not like spiraling down this negative rabbit hole of fear. I think so much of what anxiety is just looking into the future. And the one thing that I continuously write in my journal and what I remind myself is like, I can only control what I can control, and I can only take care of today. I can't worry. Like, yes, planning for the future is important, but I can only take care of today to get there, like one day at a time. Like, I know that's so cliche, but truly that is like, it's accumulating small wins over time and building a foundation around yourself of positivity.
I mean, snaps to that, dude. I definitely, I remember last December 2021, sorry. I had just broken up with my ex, and my friend goes, give it a year. And he just goes, give it a year. I was on the golf course with him, and I'm like showing him her Instagram. I'm like, she looks so hot and happy, and like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, man, just give it a year. And at the time, I was like, a year? That is forever. How am I ever going to survive? And then you just, like a year happened or 9 months happened, and all of a sudden it was just like, and I remember reading about this on Quora, like one day you're just going to wake up and it's just not gonna be as powerful. And that power does diminish. And whatever heartbreak it is, whatever rejection you're going through, the power of that rejection diminishes as time passes. And it really is only about just like one day at a time. Just get through that day.
There is that weird window of time. And I say weird because like you almost are craving that misery, that gut punch. You're opening up the Instagram story or doing whatever, being like, this is gonna suck, but I need this, right? Like for some reason you like lean into it, and after a while you kind of are like, why am I doing that? Like this actually isn't good. It is a weird like flip of the switch. I know it like isn't as immediate as that, but there is that slow, it goes from every day checking in to like every other day to every third or fourth day to once a week to then being like finally being like, I why am I doing like this is not moving the horse forward.
Should we do this? Just reminded me. Should we do like a top 10 list of things to do or not to do when you're going through a breakup? And just do
Sure.
around the horn and just like,
Yeah, let's try it.
Obsess. You should do that.
oh, you should obsess.
Yeah.
So step 1, obsess.
Immediately call them back. Say you want to get back together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Step 2, stay in contact. Stay in contact with them. Definitely helps.
Yeah.
It'll never, it'll make healing easier if you just talk to them every day, see them on the regular.
Yes.
Um,
Ignore self-care. Just like don't do anything that helps you out. Don't go to the gym. Don't talk to good friends. Just isolate and
drink heavily.
Yeah. Isolate and drink.
No, that's the next one. Drink is the next one.
Yeah.
Right. Step 4, drink heavily or create a new substance abuse issue. Maybe it's time to try meth. Like this is maybe you're already down. Just put some meth on top. Okay, definitely check Instagram and follow.
Yes.
Like stay checking Instagram and obviously
follow their friends in case they're not as active. Make sure the friends,
reach out to their family. Just check in with their family, text their mom or dad, brother, and be like, I'm just thinking about her so much. Is she thinking about me too?
Drive by their home just to see.
I remember when I first heard about that, like in high school, that like people would do that, like the drive by the house.
I wrote myself an email being like, someday you're going to drive by it. Like it was a fictitious home. Someday you're going to drive by the home. The lights will be on. You'll look at it and you'll say, oh, I'm glad I'm not in that home.
Did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You're
like, how is she still in that home? How did No, it's yeah.
What okay, so we've got 6 or 7. We need 3 more. Yeah. Okay, no self-care, drink heavily, try meth. These are all great suggestions for post breakup. Oh, get into a new relationship right away.
That's good. Yes.
Like meet somebody and just be like, this is that. This is it. When in reality, you're just trying to, you're just covering up the pain. Save photos. Save all the photos.
That's
you
a
have
big
of them
one
in your phone and look at them obsessively.
Often.
That's a good. That'll really help you get over your breakup. Constantly talk about your ex to your friends and family. Like
that's a good final one.
Yeah, never not bring it up.
Right. Don't let it go.
Yeah,
ultimately don't let it go.
And those are 10 ways to get over your ex really fast.
Brought to you by Still Single.
Brought to you by Still Single.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because that's such a profound moment. You're on the golf course and your buddy, you got some good friends, man. Like Jordan and I include us in that. But also, I really feel like you've got some good friends from Chicago that really care about you, and you'll say some things that they've said, and it's just very not LA advice. It's just like good-hearted. I feel like I've ragged on LA a lot, but I guess what I mean by that, it's just like good sound, like good guy advice. Like your friend's just like not sugarcoating. He's just like, give it a year. And
I love my boys, and I love you guys.
So I'm talking at your next wedding.
Okay, great.
Like it's
my next wedding.
Absolutely, like the casting of a lifetime. I missed out on that one. But
you stood at my wedding. I did. Wait, what was it? You were standing there and something happened where a rabbi looked at you. What happened? And you were like,
wait, this is so funny. So it was, I think was it the ceremony? It was the ceremony, and it was at your beautiful home in Chicago. Your family has a beautiful home looking over the lakes. It was gorgeous. We're in the backyard. We were all incredibly hungover. like that hungover where you're like, how do pants work? Like, how do I walk? Like, like focusing on breathing. And I'm just sitting there, just trying to be like, you do nothing here, Alex. You just sit for this hour while they do their ceremony. Just like sit and enjoy love. And your mom, I guess the neighbors in the backyard with these young kids throwing a football and being like, hey, Billy, here comes the spiral. And like Robin, Noelle are like, and I love you so deeply for your immortal soul. And like, they're, and so your mom looked at me and she just went, and I'm like, what am I going to do here? Dude, the anxiety I had standing up and walking over to your neighbor's backyard. No plan, dude, no plan at all. And they stopped. And I was just like, thank you so much that they stopped. Cause I had like, what was I going to do? Was I going to be like, cut it out? Like, yeah. Anyways, man.
Oh,
I still think about that. So yeah.
That was a great wedding.
That was a great
wedding. It really was.
You're doing great.
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm allowed to feel. I'm allowed to get sad reminiscing about my wedding.
What's high school like, Billy?
Speaking of weddings, I had a situation happen with me. So one of my good friends is getting married in Italy this summer, and I had just finished watching White Lotus season 2, which is based in Italy, and I was like,
it's the intro song.
Oh. I was like, I don't remember that part in the show.
When he aggressively goes down on her. All right, sorry.
And so I reached out to the groom, who I'm really good friends with, and it's like $600 for 2 nights. And I was like, hey, is anyone down to split a room, and cut the cost? Like, I'd really love to make this happen. And he's like, sure, let me ask around. I'll see what's up. And a couple days later passed. He's like, hey man, sorry, I haven't heard a bunch yet. There's also like not a lot of singles coming. So it's not a ton of people to like really even choose from to begin with. And that hit me in such a way because we're, it's like, okay, cool. Like the majority of us are early 30s, mid 30s. And he wasn't saying it to put me down.
Right.
But it was such a glaring realization to have of like, am I falling behind? Like, am I not? I don't know. I'm still trying to like wrap truly what my feelings were around that, but it was definitely like well, shit, this is really like a punch in the face of that. I'm one of the, like a single guy going to this thing, or like still being single amongst my friends, and almost like losing connection on understanding that like relationship aspect, like just it's putting a lot of things in perspective for me of just like what my intentions are when it comes to dating and moving forward with that. And like I guess like the timeline of where we're at. I never really, as a guy, you don't have that same pressures as girls do of timing, but still at the same time, I was like, it's not something I have been putting off. I just don't know if like my overall intentions have been in the right place.
I just always think of like this idea of like puberty, and like we're going through adult puberty all the time, whether it's like maturing into owning a home, maturing into having a family, having a wife and kids, maturing into that great job. And it's the same as like when you're in 7th grade and one boy has armpit hair and the other boy is just still like a little boy. You can't really control your development. You can't control the puberty of like your development. And I don't think I'm framing it this way makes it seem like you're behind or some way, but the point is like you're just not behind. You can't control it. Like if we could control where we were at, we'd all be like, yeah, I can control it. And there are certain things you can control, small wins, those small daily habits, those you can control. But like, you having a significant other for this Italian wedding, it's like, how can you control that? And I know you want to. I mean, even before we hit record, you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about maybe inviting somebody, or like And that's you like trying to control it. And I do it all the time. I do it with so many things. But I don't know. I got invited to my buddy's wedding. I got a text from my buddy. He goes, "Hey, should I invite Nick so he can be your wingman to my wedding?" And I'm like, I don't want to. I love Nick and he's one of my best friends, but like, I wish he texted me like, "Hey, do you want a +1 to bring somebody?"
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I'm like, it would be fun to go with a girl. But I don't know. I haven't responded
Nick
yet.
can dance.
Dude, Nick's got a dioc. Yeah, Nick. It's a running joke in my friend group that Nick is just hung. We literally call him Nicky Dong. For our listeners who care. Nick lives in Mexico City. He is single and
nice.
Sorry, Nick. I didn't mean it. Just totally. Yeah. Facts.
Well, I think that's great, man.
Really derailed us on that. Trying to come back to reality there.
I guess it's also one of these things where it's like weddings end up being such a thing, but like at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that big of a deal if you're coming to just celebrate your friend's life and love, and whether you bring a significant other, whether you do invite someone just for like, hey, want to come for like a fun party experience, so, or if you just go alone.
Yeah, it's gonna be great regardless. Like that's not like the concern. It just like almost put a spotlight on the fact of like,
right,
Jordan's still single. Like, like
the tables are tough because if the table is like couple,
Yeah.
and it's a 10 head and it's like you, and then there's maybe like one other random person.
Right. The cousin that is
Right.
like 15 to come through, and it's like, what's up, man? Hey. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing with another group of friends that I had that was like, where +1s come in to play. I know you, like I mentioned this story to you guys beforehand, and you're like, you definitely deserve a +1 for going all the way to Italy. And I'm just like,
Hundo P.
Yes. Hundo P.
So that's not for me to like really present. And I get it as well of like having this intimate wedding and experience and all that kind of stuff, where like it was a pushback because my one buddy, I remember, we were all part of the bridal party and none of us had significant others at the time. And this was like 5-6 years ago. And he's like, it's just unfair. Like we should get to have a +1. And I was like, they don't want you just having some random Tinder date like at their wedding, like, just because you get a little lonely, like when you also, we're all with our best friends here. Like, it's not like you are going and you don't know anyone to this wedding. So I always like have a little pushback, but I do see where you're coming from of like, hey, I'm making this like cross the pond trip and doing all this stuff to then be like, cool, I'll just have this hotel room by myself. And
it's interesting, man. I had that experience. I guess it was like September. I went to my buddy's wedding and it was all my college lacrosse friends, and they're all married and have, if they don't have kids, they're on the way, but they're all married. And it was one of my great friends. So I went, and especially now not drinking, there was just like that very interesting moment. I mentioned I went to that lacrosse tournament last summer, same moment where it's like the wedding ended and I'm like taking off my suit and I got in bed and I watched New Girl and ate some grapes. It's just like, it was just like a little surreal. I'm like, all right, it's okay. We're good. We're okay.
Yeah, I had that same realization when I was in Seattle, like visiting two of my friends who have like homes and these like newborn kids that are like 4 or 5 months and another one on the way. And like these are people that I like grew up with and all that kind of stuff. And once it was like, cool, that was so fun. It was so great to reconnect. And then I was like, I'm driving to my Airbnb by myself with my like, and look at this ocean view, that like this beautiful view that I have, that I'm just like, the aloneness really sets in at those moments.
I want to circle back to, we gave obviously the top 10 things not to do after breakup. That was really fun. Can we all do one anecdote each of what to do and what has helped
Sure.
us. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say like the two things that come to mind are, and I want to also, one of these was during a time when I lived with two really good friends in Jono, who's obviously in Ghosted and was part of a comedy group with Rob and another buddy, and it was so fun. And I lived there for like 2 years, I think, just about, and it was amazing. And like, it was an experience that I'd like longed for, and so it was so beautiful. And then that ended, and also they ended up getting a place together, which was all good, but I felt a little like heartbreak of, oh man, this chapter's ending, and also like a little bit of like, how come we don't want to keep it 3 people? How come now it's 2 people? Like I couldn't help but feel that a little bit, and it wasn't personal, or maybe it was, who knows. Anyway, so I just want to say there was heartache there. And then the breakup that I went through during spring 2020 was not awesome and really rocked me for like 9 months. And the thing that helped me the most with the 9 months, when it helped a lot, was I stopped checking her social media. And it sounds simple and like, well, obviously, why didn't you do it sooner? And there was a million and one reasons, I think. One was like that little bit of connection still. Two was like curiosity. How are they doing? Are they doing good? Are they doing bad? When really, like, what does that matter? So I think the best thing I'll say is, one, I heard Jocko Willink talking about it. He's like, you got to go forward. And it was like, he's like a Navy SEAL, but it was a very heart-centered. It wasn't like a moment. It was just like, you got to go forward. He's like, but most people don't go. They go forward and then they go back, or they go forward, then they crawl back, or they go forward and then they stay back. Like, you have to just go forward. And I really think once you have clarity that it is not right, you just have to go forward, is my piece. And I guess I'm giving a few here, but the other thing I'll say is like, focus on good things. Like, don't watch a scroll hole. Don't do a Netflix marathon. There's a time and a place for that, of course, but like, read that book that you always wanted to read. Go to the gym. Connect, call those friends that you wanted to catch up with, but you haven't. Like, do the foundational good things that we sometimes overlook when times are good, but that when times aren't good, like, that's freaking everything.
Snaps. Jordan, are you ready, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I can do a couple. I think as Rob mentioned before, is like, be willing to ask for help, and maybe it is better to be objective and go seek like therapy to have that talk, because being that friend that's like always bringing up the ex of just like, I keep having this issue, I keep falling this, and having someone who's objectively there to just like listen and do that, as opposed to like, I think there is importance around that. But even before a breakup, you should probably, I think everyone should be in therapy. I think it's really important, but seeking that kind of help, I think, my personality is like, take that trip, do that. It makes me think about a time where I was going through a heartbreak, and I took a trip by myself to Hawaii, which is very forgetting Sarah Marshall. Now that I think back on it. And so, but yeah, I wanted to go and have this adventure and have this experience. I had like a flight voucher, all this kind of like, it just like lined up kind of perfectly. And so remind yourself that you're capable of doing certain things. And like I said earlier, is the investment in yourself. So like you're saying, is like, read that book, start that art project, start that thing that you've just been like holding yourself back on, and reminding yourself of like that small empowerment, those small wins, and building that foundation. So I think there's that. And then I remember listening, actually, Neil Strauss brought this up, is that every time you reach out to your ex, and even if, like I said, even in a friendship situation, is that every time you reach out, is that it brings you back to zero for all the growth that you've been doing from both sides. You don't know where they're at, and unless you have a clear cut intention of why you're reaching out, I kind of side on the side of like almost not reaching out to a fault, but like, it's like, what are my true intentions here of why, like, what do I really want to say here? Or what am I trying to get out of this conversation? So remind yourself of like, not being just like selfishly being like, I need to apologize about this or ask about this random thing. Like, can you Google it? Can you like, having a support system like friends or therapy to ask these questions and get your answers. It doesn't need to come from that person.
Snaps. Really
Snaps,
good.
man.
You guys have covered a lot. I think when I went through my last breakup, my self-worth was so low. And I've never felt that low about myself and being like, I'm not worthy of love. And I think the thing that helped me get through it the most was reaching out to friends. And honestly, like, I would call Weber every day. I'd call my friend Harrison. I would, text friends. And something that stuck with me that I think really helped was like, it's okay to feel what you're feeling. So there was a point in my breakup where I was still obsessing over my ex. And I remember my family being like, why aren't you over this? Or like, can't you, like, it's been some time, like, get it together kind of energy.
Yeah.
And I had to literally be like, Mom, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you for a little bit because you're not helpful. And I know she wants to help, but I remember like literally taking a step back and being like, I just can't communicate through this. So I remember reading on a Quora thing or something I Googled how to get over your ex. And it was like, just feel what you're feeling. It's okay to feel the feelings. And if it takes time, that's okay. Like, it is okay. There's no expiration date on grief. I know very well. And the same thing goes for a breakup and the loss that you feel in a breakup. Another thought I had was like, when a relationship ends, it's like a part of you has died. So it's okay to grieve not only the person that you're not dating, but also that version of yourself that you were in that relationship. So like with my ex, like, we were very social. We were going out a lot. We had so many friends and weddings to go to. And like, there was just so much activity, right? And then it was like, whoa, I'm just like a single dad in Pasadena again. And there was almost this like realization of, I'm not that special. I'm not that worthy. I'm alone again. And then the last thing I'll say, and this has already been said, but I cannot tell you enough how important it is. You have to go no contact. And no contact means not following them on social media. In fact, blocking them on social media so that you never see them. You don't see them through a friend's Instagram. Like, it's just, you just got to do a hardcore block. Don't worry about hurting their feelings. It's over. Okay. And I recommend deleting them from your phone, deleting photos, deleting all reminders, throwing away things that remind you of that person, mementos, gifts. Just don't sit in the pain. And I know sometimes we want to control the pain, and that's why we like check the Instagram, because we're like, oh, we can control it. I just say, like, go no contact in all areas, and then just give it time.
Yeah, I think, snaps to that. And I also was thinking, because you kept bringing up like Quora was your thing that you latched onto, and finding like a new community or something that brings you positivity around that is okay to like, finding outlets that give you this support that you're just like, I don't know how much you're on Quora now, probably very minimal or anything, but like, yeah, exactly. But like, just finding something to latch on that gives your brain attention and gives your feelings attention in a way that you can like go to, that makes you feel good. And for some people it like ends up being like some ice cream or some, whatever, like food or doing over exercise. It like, there are some things that people latch onto that you're just like, I got so obsessed with this, but it when you can turn that part of your brain off for even for a little bit, just because I remember in so many different times during heartbreaks of just like, you can spiral when you sit in it, you can do it. And it's just like this distraction is like, hey, for that hour of time, it's so great. I always said when I was in a deep like heartbreak where it's like those 2 seconds right before you wake up, before your brain activates again, is like pure bliss before it's like, oh, remember,
The obsession starts.
yeah, we're healing over this. We're still hurt on this.
And no matter what, reach out for help if you really feel like you're sliding into scary town. Like I definitely have had moments where I was like not necessarily suicidal, but so fucking depressed I couldn't get out of bed. And like reach out for help. It like there's nothing wrong with asking for help. That is literally the strongest thing you can possibly do, because it's almost so hard in the moment to reach out for help where you feel almost paralyzed with fear and paralyzed with anxiety. Reach out for help. It will help, and people will come to your aid. Like I promise you, just reach out.
It's good, man.
Yeah. I do have a question.
Yeah.
It's a pretty general question, but I think it'll be a fun way to kind of round out the episode.
Great.
But first, I just want to say I love you guys. I really do. I love you both so much.
Love you, man.
I love you both so much.
I love it. I mean it. And I love our listeners. Okay, this is from Cookie Rose Baroga at Miss Cookie Butter. Ooh. Hello, Jordan, Rob, and Alex. I do not know if you can read this, but I wanted to try my luck and ask an advice about my situation. I'm 30, no experience in dating ever. I just started to try online dating a few months ago when I moved to US. I have had no successful conversations through the dating apps because men flake out after a few dates. The longest conversation I had was 2 weeks, but he went off when I asked for a FaceTime. What is your advice for women like me who finally wanted to try dating in her 30s?
Well, gosh, there's so many variables, but one, good on you. Let's start there. Good on you for entering, right? Just like Rob said earlier, there's no right time, whether that was 14 or whether, you're re-entering in your 50s or 60s or like, there's no right time. So good on you for not like chalking it up and just saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I don't know where in the country or world. Did she say?
She didn't say, but
Why are you laughing?
Well, you're basically saying like, I don't know where you're from.
Well, here's what I'm saying. If you're in New York City, that's a little different than if you're in, farmlands of Iowa. Both great places, but a little bit maybe easier to meet.
Oh, she's originally from the Philippines, but she's now living in the U.S.
Okay.
Great smile.
All I was going to say is quality over quantity. So there's definitely going to be some not great people that you interact with, but you will find good people, and just try to focus on them. And there's so many, because it's not only like getting back into dating, it's kind of like trying dating for the first time. So go slow. Definitely go slow, because you don't know everyone's intentions, truly. So just go slow, and quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think like dating app like it sounds like she's dated before, but maybe she's never dated on the dating apps. And I think like when I heard her say like, yeah, he then dropped off after 2 weeks of texting and I asked for a FaceTime, my gut reaction is like, push for that coffee, push for that first in-person date. You don't want to turn into pen pals on a dating app. And we've said it before, like that transition from the app into actual text message is like, that's a big transition. You want to get out of the app as quickly as possible so that this person actually feels like a real person.
Yeah.
So I suggest within the first 10 lines of messaging on a dating app, like give them your number, give them your WhatsApp, just make it a little bit more personal than talking through Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or whatever it is. And then if you're really interested in the guy, or like you're just kind of like itching for a date, I think it's kind of sexy for a woman to be like, hey, let's go do this. Or like, hey, let's go get pizza, or let's go get coffee, like be bold like that. Worst case, he's gonna flounder a little bit or be indecisive, and then it's like not worth your fucking time.
Mhm.
Or he's gonna be like, all right, great, let's link up this weekend, and then you're like, you're in it. It's so I'd rather say, say what you're feeling, go for it, be bold, because there's so many dudes. There's just so many dudes. So like, you don't need to be precious about any of them, honestly.
It's great. You guys nailed it. Snaps.
Nailed it. We should have a podcast about dating. Because we like know this stuff. Oh man, what an episode. I feel like
This is good.
Yeah. Webs, Webs, how you doing? You good? You feeling good?
I'm okay. No, I am, guys. I'm glad that I had that. I'm glad I was able to share with you guys. Truly grateful for you both. And I think I'm just realizing, like, yes, we are all works in progress, and that's okay. It is not in a cliche way. Like, it is okay. And also it's okay to decide that now is the time to do that work with more attention or effort or like urgency, and all doing it, feel how you feel, and let like the human body do what it needs to do, like scream, yell, cry, you know.
Feel all
So
the
so
feels.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I swear. I'm okay. You are okay, man.
I am.
Okay to panic too. Like, that is okay. It's okay to be in your feels, as you are saying. It's all part of the process.
Right.
And know that you've got people around you to love you and support you. So
Thanks, guys.
And to our listeners, we've got you. We've got your back. If there's any ever a time that you just feel lonely or feel anxious about being single or dating, like, reach out to your still single homies on Instagram, and we'll respond and send in your questions. We really love hearing from you guys. It means a lot to us. So coming up in the next couple of weeks, we have a few got like 4 guests coming up. So hopefully you guys are enjoying that content. It's nice for us to just get a new perspective on the pod. And if there's any topics that you want us to cover, just like how EJ reached out and was like, hey, can you talk about Heartbreak? Like, let us know. Our ears are open to your questions, and we want to support this community of still single.
Love you all.